Coalition cracks forming as New Zealand First invokes agree to disagree provision over COVID-19 inquiry. Maybe not. Let me just read a bit of this for you from News. Oh, was it News Hub? I thought it was originally the Herald. Maybe the Herald was the News Hub one. New Zealand First supports the second phase of the inquiry, but its issue lies with the first phase, which was set up by the previous Labour government. So, of course, just because they set it up, that's enough.
Ooh, we don't like it. Yuck.
The first phase looks at the health and economic response to the pandemic in New Zealand and what could be learned from it to improve future pandemic responses. It was criticised by the right bloc for being too narrow, and both of National's coalition agreements with ACT and New Zealand First include a broader inquiry into the COVID-19 response. In other words, Winston Peters trying to pay his friends for voting for him. We believe that phase one of the Royal Commission is simply a continuation of the current inquiry, which is far too narrow in scope and remains compromised by the current chair's direct involvement with the previous government's administration and direct planning of the COVID pandemic response. New Zealand First said on Tuesday. How much does it sound like Trump? Well, because the last, ex-public servant was under Biden, we're going to get rid of him. New Zealand First believes the public perception of bias in the current chair represents a reputational risk for phase one of the inquiry and wants an independent report. New Zealand First campaigned on the fact that the current Royal Commission was nothing more than a Labour Party political tool being used to craft a message through its lack of scope and lack of suitability of the commissioners, the party said. New Zealand must have an independent and robust lessons learned report that can be used for any future pandemic response for our country. And the Herald has given us a few conversations around this. And of course, Brooke Van Velden's like, everything's fine. We basically all agree. Everything's fine. Flowers and roses.
We have met an agreement. All three political parties have their coalition agreements met. We just have one serious tiny little bit where we have disagreed and we agree to disagree. That's no surprise to anybody.
Okay.
Well, we have never supported the present inquiry.
Just in case you've missed it, do you get the vibe of the different tone between Van Velden and Peters? Just a slightly tiny little difference in tone. Just a little tiny one.
For those who are making the inquiry, we said so in a speech in the campaign in Whangarei, and we said so in our manifesto, and we said so, and it's in the coalition deal. So we're saying those that want that can have that, but we agree to disagree, and we want the inquiry that we set out and promised the people to do and have, and it'll be underway at mid-October 2024. Well, we inherited this thing that was never going to work. It was designed to cover the Labour Party's backside, to cover their incompetence and to cover the gross waste of the COVID lockdown months. In the second case, 4 long months. We all know now the $10 billion cost that was added on over and over again to what they did. And we want an inquiry to set the score right that the public can have confidence in. And that's what we're going to get.
Yeah, we're actually really comfortable. ACT campaigns on consulting the public, widening the terms of reference and continuing the inquiry. That's what we're doing, but we're also delivering a wider, more open inquiry that satisfies New Zealand First in phase 2 of the inquiry. They've said that they agree to disagree with phase 1. That's absolutely fine. I don't agree with it either. That's why we're making changes.
Look, we've got really clear agree to disagree provisions. It's important in a coalition government.
All 4 of them.
I think what you're seeing is a mature, responsible, well-functioning coalition government. We don't agree on everything. We have clear processes for when we don't. We're united on phase 2, which is important for a broader ranging inquiry. But yeah, that's been invoked, and that's perfectly fine.
The opposition will argue that this is cracks in the coalition. Is this something you push back on?
I just say to you, what you're seeing is a very mature, well-functioning coalition government in an MMP environment.
Except what will happen is Winston Peters is the one who's a bit pissy about it, and maybe this one will get passed, and then there'll be another agree to disagree, and then there'll be another agree to disagree, and then there'll be an implosion. I believe it's true to say, people in the chat will correct me if I'm wrong, that anytime Winston's been in coalition, he's never seen out the full 3 years. I think that's accurate. Now, it might have been a couple of times where he moved to Supply and Confidence but moved out of the coalition, but I don't think he's ever seen out a full term in a coalition partnership. Correct me if I'm wrong. but I get the feeling that's the case. So that's is it cracks in the coalition? No, I don't think it's cracks in the coalition. Is it Winston getting a bit pissy? Yep. Remember Winston is vindictive, and he wants to run the show. And if he has to be the one always disagreeing, and then disagreeing, and then disagreeing, it could lead to something. So cracks, probably not. Maybe it's one step before cracks in the coalition, Chewy.
Cracks in Winston Peters' face because he's made out of fucking marble from the Greeks because he's so old. There we go. We got there.
You got there.
Yeah, we got there in the end. Oh, yeah. Look, there needs to be an inquiry into the COVID response. I don't think anyone would disagree with that.
Well, there is.
Well, I don't think there's a disagreement for a need for an inquiry, though.
Yeah.
With it being such an important event, and such a big, country-changing global thing. You look at things, you learn lessons from it, and that sort of thing. When these cookers get their fucking fingers in it, though, because we want to talk to the public, we want to talk to some of the most cracked members of the public that have really bent our society out of shape. We definitely want to hear from those. We want to motivate the most militant, mental portions of our voting base to give feedback into this.
Yeah.
It's nobody can be politically agnostic with this. They all want to get their little fiefdoms involved, despite its importance.